r/askreddit, bullies of Reddit, why were you a bully in school? I honestly never realized how mean I was in school until years later. I wanted people to think I was funny. I never meant to hurt the feelings of those I bullied. I thought they all took it as a great joke. A few times, when my friends pointed out how mean I was being, I stopped. Maybe this isn't true of all bullies, but man, I'm glad people pointed my bullying out to me. As a spokesman for all the clueless bullies, we are sorry. Edit. Okay, I've tried to edit this a couple times to say this, so I hope this works. A lot of people who are still in high school have commented that their bully MO is the same as mine. Please act on this realization. Apologize to the people you've hurt. They won't all accept, but it will still help improve the world in a real way. Get your friends to point it out to you when it happens, and don't defend yourself when they do. And stop worrying so much about being funny. Try not speaking, unless you're spoken to for a couple of days. You will probably end up being respected more than you are now, instead of constantly chasing respect by making jokes 1,000 times a day. Every single person in the situation will be better off for your efforts. I was secretly gay, totally insecure about it, had a sharp sense of humor, and found that if I used it preemptively against others, they didn't have time to examine me or my insecurities. That sounds like the guy who used to call me and my nerd friends gays all the time, and generally make our lives hell in middle school. We looked him up on Facebook recently, and yup, he is now flamboyantly gay these days. Don't forget, some of them are still bullies today unfortunately. Ran into a bully from my HS a while back, and 18 years later, he's still a bully. Facebook has proven to me that my old bullies are still total prick. A few have found Jesus and think that posting Bible quotes means that they no longer need to remember throwing garbage and insults. I was little, and it was just fun. And I knew if I was picking on someone I wasn't going to be the next guy people decided to pick on. I wasn't a hardcore bully though, so I'm sure other people have more reasoning. But for the short time I spent doing it there wasn't much reason. So I just recently found out that a kid who I thought my group of friends was friends with, seriously, we hung out sometimes, went to each other's graduation parties, sometimes ate lunch together, were partners for school projects, chatted in the halls, thought of us as bullies to him. The catalyst event that we saw as him becoming our friend, he saw as bullying. Basically, we noticed one day that he kind of looked like Vanilla Ice. On the same day he was wearing a Ice t-shirt with a zip-up hoodie, so it actually looked as if his shirt said Ice, which we thought was awesome, and we thought it was awesome, and made kind of a big deal about telling him, and sometimes referred to him as Ice the rest of the time we knew him, though certainly not every time we saw him or anything. I guess I can now see how he might not have appreciated the attention and not known how to tell us that, but we honestly never realized how he felt. I'm still trying to figure out how to apologize. We never see him anymore and basically lost contact after he went to college. One of my friends was huge for his age and he used to bully the bullies. He said he wanted to defend people who can't defend themselves. Except bullies of course. At home my parents were constantly fighting. Instead of learning friendship and love, I learned anger and resentment. I brought that to school with me. Since I was bigger than average I could shove the other kids around and there wasn't much they could do about it. I enjoyed it. It was a sadistic power trip. When you're big for your age as a child it's a huge advantage. I think as you get into adulthood the playing field evens out a bit more, but back then I could do whatever I wanted and nobody short of an adult could stop me. Power like that goes to your head. Doubly so when you're just a kid. I was a very angry little girl. My older sister and mother were mean critical women. Then when I went to school, I was also bullied often myself. I just recycled it onto other kids with all the imaginative cruelty I could muster. I used them as practice and eventually got good enough to fight back against my own bullies. The day I stopped picking on other people was the day I learned I could fend for myself. A kid tried to pour a carton of milk on me and I grabbed it and threw it back in his face. I'll never know how much I might have hurt the kids I redirected my anger onto, though I have a pretty good idea and it isn't knowledge I enjoy living with. I'm so sorry. I was a pretty sociopathic in middle school. I remember I picked on one kid and one kid only. Let's call him Robert. This kid would always flip out in the most hilarious ways when you messed with him. So I would always mess with Robert to induce this reaction. So this went on for just about all of middle school. I would just do little things to him like steal the lock to his gym locker or take his backpack and start a game of monkey in the middle. One day, I hit him with an uncapped highlighter, completely on accident this time. Me and my friends were throwing it around and it just happened to hit him. Next thing I know, in the midst of me apologizing, he goes apeshit and starts throwing whirlwind drunk girl punches at me. I just kind of sat there and took it. He was a scrawny kid, so it didn't really hurt. I didn't mess with him again after that day because for the first time, I actually felt bad about it. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I did it because it was funny and it amused me. The minute it stopped being funny, I stopped what I was doing. As someone who was bullied from time to time, maybe I could shed some light. When I was about 5 to 6 there was this kid named Anto in our school. Now Anto was a big guy, for a 6-year-old anyway. So Anto used to play with me. This consisted of us playing wrestling, skinny little me vs big ol' Anto. I never used to agree to it, but he would force me and beat the living shit out of me by sitting on me, punching me, pulling my hair, you name it. Throughout elementary school I would try to distance myself from him. Fast forward to senior year of high school. Anto and I get assigned to the same class. We both started talking a bit, and he had totally changed. After he opened up a bit I asked him about how he used to bully me, and he said he never really realized what he did was wrong. He thought it was all fine. Only now after thinking back on it did he realize he had been bullying me. Now Anto and I take college classes together, and we get along pretty good. My family was pretty messed up, and that doesn't do any good for a kid growing up in it. When you don't grow up liking or caring about your family or yourself, there's little catalyst for an angry kid to do so for others. Beyond that, I grew up in the 80s/90s when bullying was just a thing. Seeing it on television and in movies, it was just the way things were. Shit flows down. I got picked on by cooler/tougher kids, and I picked on kids less cool and weaker than me. I never thought much about it. There were no school shootings or sass about it back then. I was already pretty numb from home life, so I never considered others taking it worse than I did. Mostly I was just an angry, unhappy kid. You don't realize it when you're that young. It just seems like a funny thing to do. I don't think most kids can grasp or even think about the larger consequences. At least I didn't. Obviously I regret it all now. If I could go back and leave everyone alone I would. Can't change the past though, so I just do my best to be a decent person as an adult. Reddit. I have to begin by saying I'm really goddamn sorry. In preschool, I punched a girl in the stomach when we were collecting our coats and shoes because she asked politely to play with me and my friend. She was crying, but I didn't feel all that much remorse. She was a gypsy, and I had just been put into the public system while listening to my dad rave about how the gypsies are ruining our country. I see her when I visit my hometown, and there are not enough words to express the shame I feel when I have to look down because I can't let my eyes meet hers. Dad, I'm blaming you for this one.